Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Administrator McCarthy. This has not been a simple conversation for you. EPA is, a lot of questions have been raised, and I think on both sides of the aisle, I think we were all dismayed to see the horrific, the way in which the river was so impacted. I happen to come from a district that's rooted in the Industrial Revolution, where rivers have run various different colors depending on the dye that was cast into them at the end of the manufacturing day. So we're all very concerned about how we care for our rivers. And obviously, this bill does warrant an investigation. But I do think I have to give you credit for being willing to be here and answer appropriately the questions that we all have. So I want to thank you for it. And I think it's somewhat disingenuous to compare this with a private spill. As we've heard, you all have, first of all, proactively made a decision to investigate yourselves through the Inspector General and the EPA and through the Bureau of Reclamation, as well as doing an investigation. And as you said, you will accept the outcome of that and take appropriate actions. And what is also different here is that this is a legacy site. Mine operators who benefited from the various metals that were in those grounds have subsequently abandoned them and left an environmental mess. And we have a difficult time holding them accountable. And you have said that you were there because of concern with a blowout, the possibility of a blowout, and the degraded water quality. And you've also noted there are 161,000 such abandoned mines in which these issues present the EPA with a challenge of how best to fix them. So you've also talked about that given that long list, you create a national priorities list. And I'm curious and think it would really be helpful for you to explain how you prioritize given the vast number of mines that have the great potential to pose such harm to our environment.
Well, we actually prioritize in a couple of different ways. We have factors that we consider in terms of what deserves to be on the national priorities list. In this particular case, we started back in the mid-90s looking at this and actually suggesting that it be on the national priorities list. But what we found at that point in time was that the communities in the states were actually getting together an Animas River stakeholder group who insisted that they could do a good job at addressing this issue without taking that measure. They actually did a good job. Up until 2005, that river was getting cleaner all the time. But there was a turnaround in the river. And that turnaround meant that we were getting a lot more discharges. We see fish populations degrading. That's why we were continuing to look at it as of 2008 to see if we should look at the upper creek, the Cement Creek, as the section that we would articulate and look at for the national priorities list. And out of that discussion came a collaborative effort with the state in the Animas River Watershed Group to actually look at, is that Animas River Stakeholder Group, to take a look at what we could do, and that's when the concern of a blowout arose, and we started working on a work plan that was very public, went to public hearings about what EPA could do to try to address that issue while people looked at the long-term challenge and thought about how best to do it. That's the history of this site. It is a long one, and obviously today not a successful one.
And so the local community, how did the communities initiate their interaction with the EPA? What was the process by which that took place?
Actually, we've been working with them since at least the mid-90s is how far back it goes. And it was they pulled together this stakeholder group that was really post people who worked in the mines. It was public citizens. It was local leaders. It was state representatives. EPA helped to participate in some of those. It really just became a collaborative effort, knowing that they had a large problem and that we had to work together. And that became the tone of the discussion. EPA was not there, to work as a lone entity. It was there to share ideas, to bring our mining experts to the table, to work with the state of Colorado and folks who knew the area better than we did, and to identify what the work should happen. And that was that work plan that we were working under at the time that this spill occurred. It was fully developed by with everybody's input, with public hearings. Did we underestimate the potential of the spill at the site? Did we do something we shouldn't? Those are the issues that the independent review will give a fresh eye to. But it wasn't because we didn't try, and it wasn't because we weren't working collaboratively.
And was the mine operator, the former mine operator, a part of any of those discussions?
I thank the gentlewoman. Sorry, the gentlewoman's time has expired. We'll now recognize the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Walberg, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And